Good afternoon, everyone. James Hetheridge is going to come lead us in the national anthem.
Join it, please.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, James and Cal. Our invocation today is by Mr. Les Pinkley.
Would you bow your heads with me, please? Father God, we are grateful for the beauty of this early winter day that you've given us. We're grateful for this room full of servants, those that have hearts of servants. So we serve in our community and we serve throughout the world through this club. Thank you for that opportunity, and may it be pleasing to you. Thank you for the season of anticipation and excitement of the coming celebration of your birth, your son, the birth of your son, our Lord and Savior. Bless the food that's here to our bodies, those who have prepared it. We ask all this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Yeah, thank you, Les. Terry Duffy, family of Rotary.
Thanks, President Josh. Good morning, everybody. It looks like Christmas almost. Almost. It's coming one way or the other. Let's wish some happy birthdays today. Birthdays: Dean Mitchell on December the 18th, Chris Dixon December 27th, Charles Button December the 29th, and our president, Josh Chapman, on December 30th. He was almost a New Year's Eve baby. Yeah, just got ahead of the things there, I guess. Anniversaries, a whole bunch of anniversaries. Violet Everett and Megan on December the 19th. Collins White and Jesse on December the 20th. And we always kind of used to celebrate our anniversaries together. Terry Duffy and Sharon, and Hal Edwards and Kitty on December the 23rd. Yeah, I believe it or not, I have been married over 51 years this December. We were super young kids and didn't know what we were doing, but it lasted. Mike and Sheila Heathor on December 27th. Andy Goslin and Lavonda December 28th. Arthur Gardner and Tina December 29th, along with Belinda Mitchell and Fred on the 29th. And Adam Roberson and Monica December the 30th. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. All right, come forward and introduce our guests.
All right, we're happy to welcome our guests and visiting Rotarians today. So when I call your name, would you please stand and remain standing until all visitors are recognized. We have Laura Bruce, guest of Philip Healy. Lisa Richards, guest of Alan Richards. Linda Hendrix and Vance Pileski, both guests of Greg Hendrix. And then Alex Blankenship, guest of Doug Blankenship. All right, are there any other visitors that we may have missed today?
We left out my other guest, Mike Schmidt.
Perfect. Well, yeah, I've got him as a visiting Rotarian. Perfect.
That's on me.
Yeah, I appreciate that. All right. Thank y'all so much for visiting with your Dothan Rotary Club today.
Valerie Russell, please come forward for our King Passage drawing. right, we currently have 2,981 points. And the last four are 6629. 6629. You almost didn't even play. Wide off the and the Ace of Hearts. Thank you, Valerie. All right, before we get too far into the announcements today, I want to say a special thank you to Jason Rudd for coordinating the Foster Children. Always a great project for our club. Also, Donna Tomley, thank you very much. She's unable to be with us today, but she coordinated the bell ringing with the Salvation Army. Always another great project for our club. And for Keith McAnulty, he is here today. Thank you so much for your hard work. The Senior Citizens Luncheon was awesome as usual. So give those folks a round of applause. Also, Charles Bunton told me when I walked in that we need to announce that Danny Sharp's grandson just signed with the University of Oklahoma as a tight end. So that's something we're celebrating. So you see Danny. All right. We will be, it's that time of year. Here soon, we're going to be sending out invoices. So keep an eye out. Those will go out via email. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to contact Heather concerning invoices. Walter Hill has an announcement.
Our last United Way fundraiser is this afternoon at 2:30. We'll be drawing for over $3,000 in restaurant gift cards. And I have a few tickets still for sale. They're $10 each. First ticket drawn wins $1,500 worth of gift cards. Second ticket, $1,000 worth. And third place, $500 worth. All proceeds benefit Wiregrass United Way. So I know many of you have already bought tickets, but if you want some, I'll be here after the meeting.
Thank you, Walter. Cal Whaley has an announcement he'd like to make.
Good morning. I want to do a quick pitch for RILA. That's the Rotary Youth Leadership Awards. That's going to be taking place February 29th through March 3rd. That's an activity for high school sophomores and juniors. It's an intensive leadership training conference. It's put on by our district, and about 48 clubs sponsor about 100 people who meet in this unfamiliar setting up at the Camp Basket grounds and work on leadership and decision-making skills with a focus on the Rotary four-way test. Great experience for a kid. If you know anybody, if you got kids or their friends that you think would make a good candidate, our club needs to sponsor probably at least 2 of them. I've got applications with me. I can email them to you. They're also available on the district website. So just speed up if you need any more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Cal. Do they have to be associated with an Interact Club to be eligible, or it's open to anybody? Okay. Awesome. Thank you. All right. I'm going to ask Greg Hendrix to come forward with an announcement.
Today we vote on 3 new board members and the vice president nominee. So I'm going to ask these people to stand. Kelly Pliant, Marcus Cannon, Adam Robeson, Nathan Wallace. Guess we should have told him we were going to do that. Adam Hall and Donna Clements. Raise your hand, Donna. All right, thank you. Be seated. And then Vice President nominee is John Brown.
David Hanks is going to help. Just take the next moment and select 3. Put a check mark beside 3 individuals. Everybody should have a ballot. So please take a moment to check those, and then we'll have some folks walking around to collect that.
You don't make it easy, Greg.
Great candidate, great candidate.
You see to it that Cal or John gets up.
All right, we get the ballots turned in. Thank you, guys. Like we mentioned, there's some great candidates. Thank you all for agreeing to serve our club. At this time, let's take a moment of silence. Dr. Neil Sheeler passed on Friday. He was a past president of our club and began, I believe it was in the mid-'80s, began the relationship that our club has with Habitat for Humanity. Also, honorary member Joe Miller passed last week. So let's take a moment to remember those two. Thank you. All right, I'd like to ask our guest speaker, who doesn't need much of an introduction, but Greg Hendrix, to come forward.
Well, this is a new role for me. I've not done much of this speaking thing. So we'll see how it goes. I'd like to thank my wife for supporting me and being here today, and Mike Schmidt and Vance Pileski. I was walking in my neighborhood a few months before I really committed to doing the Camino walk, and I saw this guy walking, had a ponytail, a backpack, a cell phone on his backpack, and walking poles, and Hoka trail runner shoes. And I said, that guy's a hiker. Turned around, went back, we talked for an hour. Turns out Vance was leaving the next week on Monday. And he did something that was really cool. You know, on your phones, you have a button that's called Find Mine. So he allowed me to follow him on the Camino. I could just touch the button and see wherever he was. And that was fun. I could actually watch him walk down the road. It wasn't a picture of it, but it was fun to live that ahead of time for you. And kind of feel like that young minister who was in ministry school, and their assignment that day was to be given a topic to form a sermon on, and they were given 5 minutes. So this one young man drew Zacchaeus as his subject. You all remember Zacchaeus. He was a short statured guy. He was a tax collector and climbed the trees so he could see Jesus. So after 5 minutes, the young man got up there and he said, Zacchaeus was a man So am I. Zacchaeus was a man who wanted to see Jesus. So am I. Zacchaeus was up a tree. So am I. So that's about how I feel today. It's a pleasure to speak in front of you guys and a real honor. And I'm really glad that everybody didn't look ahead and see who was speaking and not show up. I once heard if you can talk about who, what, when, where, and why, you probably covered most things. My topic today is the El Camino de Santiago. So what is the El Camino? Let's see, Josh, so turn this on. Yeah. El Camino translates from Spanish to English as the way, and Santiago is Saint James. So El Camino de Santiago is the way of Saint James. We all remember from Sunday school the naming of the disciples, James and John, sons of Zebedee, sons of thunder. John wrote Revelation. James was the first disciple martyred. But James preached the gospel across the country of Spain and is believed to be buried in the cathedral at Santiago de Compostela. So for over 1,000 years, people have been taking this pilgrimage. And even in the Middle Ages, there were 300,000 and 400,000 people that were taking it for religious reasons. There were several reasons. I've heard that some prison sentences would be commuted if you took the pilgrimage. So that was probably a good reason. So that is the Santiago de Compostela. Now you can see right up here, well, let's go to the next slide. To make it more complicated, there are 8 caminos. One that starts in Paris, one that starts here in Saint Jean-Pierre de Port, France. And that is the most common, the most walked Camino. It's 800 kilometers, 500 miles. And it's interesting. It is interesting. If someone had told me 4 or 5 years ago I was going to do this, I would have said, I don't know about that. But I was getting my hair cut, and those of you that go get your haircuts, you know those people can sometimes talk, and we're talking about movies that might go see. And he said he'd been to Redbox the night before, and he saw a movie, The Way. That he didn't rent it, but he saw it and it looked interesting. It won a lot of awards. And it starred Martin Sheen and his son, Emilio Esteban. And just to give you an idea, if you could, I want to play the trailer to The Way. This movie just reached out and grabbed my heart. It's a story of here you'll see it. It'll all make sense. You are turn up.
You know, most people don't have the luxury of just picking up and leaving it all behind. We agreed that if I let you take me to the airport, you wouldn't lecture me about how I'm living my life. I lied. Hello.
Are you the father of Daniel Avery?
I was walking the road to Santiago de Compostela, 800 kilometers northwest of the coast of Spain. This is everything I had when we found it. People have walked the path for over 1,000 years. The way is a very personal journey, and it was my only child. We'll walk the Camino de Santiago. Both of us.
Tony,
This is the way.
adios. Is that what you want to do, mister? Oh, look, the cheesemaker. Oh, hey, don't wait. You should try some old beef. No, come with me. What? I'm from Amsterdam.
That's good.
What are you looking for?
I love this guy. It wears off quick, I promise.
Hello, I'm John from Ireland. How long will you get out of here? The Camino or Mr. Taker's spot?
You think? Well, geez,
It's hard to say.
silly, is it on pilgrimage to change a life? Something like that.
Good folks with the ashes. My son. That's brilliant. I taught it, of course. But pregnant. Oh, no!
Oh, your son. I'm so sorry. I had no idea.
Question was almost 40. Yeah, it'll always be your pain. What was your son like that?
Come on, stubborn, pissed me off a lot. So I'm like you.
Hey, don't pick up my bed. Hey, you can take them back. Just give me the box.
Don't choose a life, Dad. Live one.
What you can do there to the fire? Why the hell are we walking?
It's a great movie, but the movie captured my heart. And in the movie, his oldest son is doing the Camino, played by what's his name? Amelia Esteban. And he dies the first day on the Camino. And I'll have to say, I thought there were a couple of days I thought I might die. But then later, I heard that Mike Schmidt with his son walked the Camino, and Mike shared it was one of the, I think you said the best trip you'd ever taken. And that's a pretty good endorsement. And so from then on, it was just trying to figure out a time when I could do it. So right after I finished my year as president here, I said, this is the time. It just the bottom line, it was an incredible experience. I'm not a hiker. Used to be a runner, but there's a beautiful simplicity of getting up every morning, brushing your teeth and your hair, eating breakfast, walking for 5 to 7 hours, cleaning up, and as Vance said, a beer in 100-degree weather is pretty darn good. And I've never been a beer drinker, but whew, the tall, the grandes. I learned things. I was so surprised. I was just surprised at every turn. I could not imagine, even though I talked with Vance, who met with me for coffee afterwards, gave me some great tips. One of the big problems walking 500 miles is blisters on your feet. And Vance told me the perfect formula, which was 2 socks on each foot. And the first socks had they were toe socks. So you wore those, and then you wore Murano wool socks over top of that. And you keep your boots tight. If your boots are loose or your shoes are loose, then stop, fix them right then, or you're gonna pay a price. And I saw a lot of blistered feet. Some of them are pretty bad. Not pretty at all. I could not believe, I don't know what I expected, but it was just a plethora of languages. People from Germany, Japan, Australia, Newfoundland. I wasn't even sure where Newfoundland was. Denmark, Canada, Scotland, and just all other places. And it was fun. Learned a lot of things, and I thought I'd just share some of those. Day one of the Camino, Vance told me there was nothing that could have prepared him for day one. It's 15 miles, 4,000 foot elevation change, and it happened to be over 100 degrees then. Now, I had heard about that from Vance and Mike, so I split that up into 2 days. But most people didn't. Walked with a doctor from Coleman. He and his son had just finished law school. They were walking the Camino together. And he told me, he said he thought he was gonna die. He was just flying on the ground. About 10 miles in, there were people, volunteers, just riding around in their cars. And when they would see someone walking, they'd let them sit in their air-conditioned car just to cool off. It was brutal. The guy from Coleman happened to be walking close to this, in their group, there was a woman from Texas who's this ultra marathon runner. And he said she saved his life. She pushed him up the mountain. A good athlete. But he would say, he said it over and over, she saved my life. This picture, which I just thought was absolutely beautiful, a couple that I met from Texas, Fred and Daddy. Fred was a lot of engineers on this trip, John. He was an engineer from Texas Instrument. And then his wife had run 25 marathons, and I never knew about it, 25 marathons. But in the first day, they came through these clouds, fog, and then when they got out on the other side, she took this picture, and I just thought it was beautiful. The scenery is amazing. My son Rhett took this picture. I was there in the fall, so the crops had already been gathered. And it was just walking along. I'll tell you, the stories are amazing. The lady that took this picture, her name is Trudy from Newfoundland. And her friend on the right up there, Melody, they came together. But Trudy and I were just walking, and when you're walking along, not looking at each other, you kind of talk more. And you tell things, and you find yourself saying, I can't believe I told you that. But Trudy was saying, well, she and her husband go away on vacations at Christmas time. And I said, well, that's unusual. I said, my sister does that, but she tragically lost a son in an accident. And Trudy said that's what happened to her. Later learned that he committed suicide. And I found that most people were just regular people trying to work out whatever they're working at. Some of you know my daughter does some movies, and in the first movie she was in, one of the themes of the movie was everyone is beautifully flawed. And I think if we're honest, we're probably all broken. We've all got things where we need to address them. The guy in the middle there, Harry from Scotland. Harry is 82 years old. This was his 8th Camino. Wow. And he was just sitting beside the road there, beside the trail. And a bunch of us came walking along, so he joined us. I said, Harry, why 8 Caminos? And then I later learned there's some people that do the Camino every year. But he said there's no feeling like the feeling of arriving in Santiago de Compostela at the cathedral where St. James is buried. He said if you could bottle that and sell it, you would get rich. So that was his main reason for going. I mentioned to Mike that I was interested in doing this, and he graciously met with me and gave me a little necklace, which I'm wearing, a little book that's a trail book that breaks the whole trail, 500-mile trail down into 30 or 32 days. And I use that. It's worn out, just worn out. And Vance made one recommendation. He said if you had to do it again, I hope you don't mind saying this, Vance. He said if you had to do it again, he'd probably talk to a lot more people. So I decided I was going to talk to everybody. I didn't care who they were or what language they spoke. I had a translator on my phone, so we and I just wanted to encourage everyone. I just wanted to hear their stories, to drink that all in. I think that's one of the reasons I did my career. It's kind of like McDonald's. They sell hamburgers so that they can be the largest real estate company in the world. I think I had a career in insurance and financial planning so that I could spend time talking to people about significant events in their lives. But that was the big fun for me. I had a great couple, John and Helen from Australia. John taught me how to use my trekking poles. He does out in the outback. He does tours. Next slide. Day one. I mentioned I broke that first day down into 2 days. So I'm in Val Carlos. It's only about 8 or 9 miles. Lesson number one, I learned, if you get lost, don't think you can do better by looking at your map and figuring out another route. Go back to where you got lost and start over. But anyway, I came in late to Val Carlos, and after lunch, I saw this wagon, and this remember the show Bonanza? There'd be gypsies from time to time. This looked like a gypsy wagon to me. And this guy driving this wagon, this tractor, and he does this a month out of the year. And he travels 2,000 kilometers every year. So I was walking to the room with the couple, one of the couples in the picture, and he was kind of rough. He wasn't rough looking, he was just strange looking. His shoes were painted several different colors. He was wearing a vest without a shirt. He said, "Do you want to come in the trailer?" And I'm thinking, nah. But Janet, Jerry's wife, said, "Yeah, we'd like to do that." So it's like, okay. He said, "I'll sing you a song." And I thought, well, that's unusual. So Gary and Janet got in the trailer, sat on the bench, and he put on some music and sang a love song to Janet. And afterwards we said, "Oh, that was great. Can you sing another one?" And I videoed that. But there's a tremendous spirit along the Camino. And this guy taught me something I needed to know. Let me backtrack. As Gary and his wife were walking in the trailer, and I'm standing there to video, I said, "Gary, you know this is going to cost us, don't you?" I thought he'd probably hit us up for a donation, took his calls. And after he finished singing, I was feeling guilty, and I said, "Well, here, let me give you something for diesel fuel." He said, "No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy." And that was just a lesson to me. Here is a man. It seemed like he was just trying to bless people and trying to do things to just bless them. And it was a lesson to me that I could probably stand some of that. Not being quite so driven. I loved the times of silence. When you walk for 40 days, there's some times of silence. And I call it hearing the whispers of God. I'm at that stage of life, partially retired. And if I wasn't chicken, I'd probably be totally retired. But that scares me. And I just felt like this was a time in my life where I needed to hear some things. I needed to work out some things. And so there I went. This is the guy, a still shot of the guy singing. You can see his clothing. Doesn't inspire much confidence. Many people have asked, well, do you stay in tents? No, there's not much tent staying. This is a place I stayed the second night. This is actually, was in that movie, The Way, that we just saw the preview of. Some places you can stay where there are 10, 20 in a room. I can barely sleep just by myself or Linda and me, so I'm sleeping in a room with 10 or 20 other people just didn't sound like anything like that. But some of the places were interesting, as this was in Branche Valley. Food was great, and they believe in wine over there. I'll tell you. You could get a bottle of wine for $3, and it was wonderful. And it usually came with your meal. That was after the beer, so. This is that same little place, and the sign, this was in the movie, 790 kilometers. I've already traveled, this is the end of day 2. That's a haul. Others have asked, is the trail marked? And it's extraordinarily marked. There are markers like this all along the place. If not, on buildings, that yellow arrow is painted on buildings. But I did learn you can get lost. The longest day up until that point was that I was walking was 17 miles. And I'm walking along and kind of fuzzy-headed. It's hot in the afternoon and by myself. I got lost. And instead of going back to where I got lost, I just said, well, I can cut across over here. And that was the one time, well, there were 2 times I didn't feel safe. I was carrying more cash than I should have. And I walked through a town that wasn't on the Camino. It was, I was thinking somebody might knock me over the head for that cash. But the trail was amazingly marked. Vance had mentioned this. In those first 3 or 4 days, some of the walking is tough. This is a picture of what's called Devil's Tooth. It's just rocks on rocks and pieces of granite sticking up. And I didn't know your feet could hurt that much. For the first 2 weeks, my feet just hurt every day. And I mean, hurt badly. On day 3, I'm walking along and come out of the woods, and I see this food truck over there, food trailer. It's like, food, yeah! So we go over and I'm eating something. I probably had a beer. And I take a swig of water out of my backpack thing and realize I'm out of water, but it's only 3 miles to the next place. And I'm thinking, no big deal. Not good. Another lesson, never, ever, 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 never give up an opportunity to refill your water in 100-degree weather. About halfway through this last 3 miles, I realized I was in trouble. Things were not working well. The brain was not working well. And there was this group of 4 women who had already walked 30 kilometers that day, which is 30 times 0.6, 18 miles. They were running and jumping, and they weren't children either. I mean, these were some fit women. And I told them, I said, I'm in trouble. Can you help me? And they rescued me and got me plenty of water. But that was a lesson. I didn't pass up water then on out. Another lesson I learned, they don't believe in air conditioning. And I learned, yes, you can sleep in 90-degree weather at night. I promise you. If you're tired enough. This is an example of some of the, just these water spouts where they would be. You can fill up your water. There's my little backpack there. Many people take everything they have in a big backpack, and after talking with Mike Schmidt, I decided to do what he did, which was ship a suitcase ahead every day. And it never got lost. And it worked great. And so I'm just carrying this little day pack. And that worked. If I do the Camino again, and if I can work it out, I probably will. I think I'll carry everything. There are so many sites that I didn't get to see just because I had a schedule to adhere to. So I might do it differently if I do it again. Just going back over the things that I've talked about. I invited all my children to go with me, and 3 of the 4 said yes. And that was just one of the neatest things. My youngest son joined me on day 5 and walked with me 3 days and stayed 5 nights. And that was, you know, our kids get grown and you think about how much time we spend with them in a year. If I spend 10 hours with my youngest son, I feel very blessed. But to be able to spend 3 days like that was pretty cool. Halfway through, there's this monument of St. James, the apostle, who's to be buried, who's buried in Santiago de Compostela. And this was the halfway mark. That was a sweet day. It felt like, hey, I may make this. An interesting statistic, learned that 10% of the people that start finish. And there are a lot of reasons for that. And I didn't know if I was going to be one of the ones that finished. All it takes is turning an ankle. Met a lady the first day, Bonnie from Michigan. Bonnie was 75. She was carrying her husband's ashes. And I could not walk as fast as she's 5 feet tall, about. I could not keep up with her. And I renamed her Road Runner. Kept bumping into her. But about 200 miles in, she broke a bone in her foot. And she didn't know she had broken it. She just knew it hurt like that. But she kept on walking for 4 or 5 days and finally had it x-rayed and said, you know, I'm going home. But she was really disappointed. This was a Roman bridge. It was actually a 2,000-year-old bridge, which I just find amazing. You know, the housing there is hundreds of years old. Most of these small towns, you just walk right through the middle of town on one main road, and the houses, you know, we don't keep houses that long. And I think they do something better than we do. I think we do a lot of things better than Spain, but they have this siesta thing in the afternoon. They work about 8 to 1, and then the kids go home from school. They close all the businesses, take a nap, and then go back to work at about 6 or 7, and then work till 9 or 10, and then they go out. So you'd see these people at 10 o'clock in the town square with their 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds running around, having a glass of wine, visiting. I think they do community pretty well. We had a speaker here, Josh, several months ago. She said the #1 problem in America is loneliness. And I think they figured out some of that. One of the big surprises to me is that 70 to 80% of the people walking the trail are women. Women by themselves. I just didn't expect it. Saw some brave women. I guess their husbands were at home. And there were some neat surprises. I want to jump ahead. There was a couple taking their 2 children on the deal. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. And that's a tough go. Met this couple in a restaurant. They're both veterans. They both have online businesses. I mean, you know, we think we have to have an office. These people ran their online businesses in the afternoons. And their little 2-year-old girl was having the time of her life. You know, it's like, I didn't know you could do that. Interesting stuff. When my son Rhett arrived, that was on day 5. That was the main street right through town. Oops. Then my daughter joined me in the last 2 days, and she finished with me. And that was fun because she and I travel really well. And she really honored me at the end, walking with me and giving me space. I wanted to figure out what shoes to take. Vance said, wear trail shoes. Mike Schmidt said he loved his leather boots. So I bought a really nice pair of leather boots, Italian, handmade. And I walked in them 6 days and they just about killed. So I had my trail runners, and this is a picture where I bought a second pair of trail runners on the trail. Those are Hoka speed guns. But my others were slick on the bottom. And I had 100 miles to go. I was 400 miles in, and I bought these. Felt like I was walking on air. That was amazing how good they felt. Mike, this is a little book that you shared with me. It's cool that this is so well laid out. There are towns to stop in to get lunch, but it's just really well laid out. Again, people have been doing this for 1,000 years. We came across this mural. You can look closely. This is a mural of the actors in the movie The Way. A ghost from Amsterdam. Don't remember where the woman's from. Martin Sheen, and then a crazy guy from didn't know where he was. It was throwing the stick out and around in the field. Vance, would you agree that one of the most fun things was getting together with people in the evenings?
I would agree.
We stayed in this one place. This was an old grist mill. I was talking with another Pellegrino pilgrim just last week, and I said, "Did you stay in this place?" He said, "It's the best sleep I've ever had in my life, except for 10 hours. A river runs under this place." The lady at the end of the table, Mercedes, had a tremendous gift of hospitality, and she just made you feel so welcome. But this was one of the most interesting nights. Notice the guy at the end of the table, Michael from Germany. Well, that's his daughter across from him. She was born in America. Michael was born in Germany. His wife is from Mexico. So when the three of them are together, he speaks German, his wife speaks Spanish, and his daughter speaks English. I just thought that would be interesting to hear those conversations. But the lady across from him, Karen, or Karen, is from Denmark, and I kept bumping into her. But she was talking, and she said something about 3. And I said, "Okay, is that how you guys do 3 in Denmark?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Well, we do 3. So she tried to do her fingers like that, couldn't do it. And then Michael said in Mexico, they do 3. And I just thought that was interesting. In China, when they count, we count on our fingers. Well, in China, they count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So just, Michael said his favorite thing was Camino trash talk. And I will say, the meals were amazing. This is the guy that I talked about on the far right, Texas Instrument engineer. And just the stories, the couple in the back there. When he was 12 years old, they lived in New England. And his parents sold the house, and he bought a sailboat. And they sailed down the East Coast, across the Gulf, through the Panama Canal to Hawaii, and then back to Portland, Oregon, and they've lived there ever since. And he skipped a year of school by being homeschooled that year on the boat with his parents and 3 siblings. He's an engineer by training, but in the summer times, while living in Portland, he would go out on these Alaskan fishing boats. And you stay out all summer. And I never heard of that. And he made great money. He said he had a good captain. So he left engineering, and his entire career, he bought a fishing boat and made his living as an Alaska fisherman. Just interesting stories. Yeah, they were interesting to me. Another example, 4 of us were sitting here at this table, and other people we knew just kept coming in, so you just keep pulling tables up. The lady sitting next to my son is Trudy from Newfoundland, lost her son. And that's Bonnie across from me that 5 feet tall that I couldn't keep up with. And I mentioned surprises. This was another meal. John, this guy on the right, second in, from South Carolina, and sold his pest control business for about 100 employees, and faithful Catholic, and was preaching, spreading the gospel over the entire Camino. Great guy. Talked with him this morning. Good guy. But one night, I go to eat like I normally did, and came up, and you just in this restaurant with 10 people, you don't expect to hear opera. I don't know much about opera, but I thought that. Oops. And then another guy, a little blues, always good for the soul. Whoops. Turns out that the largest rock pile in the world is on the Camino. For 1,000 years, people have been coming to the Iron Cross and bringing little rocks from home. And it signifies laying down your burdens or something in your life. And it just snuck up on me. Everyone that I saw there had tears in their eyes. And it was a sacred experience. I laid down 3 rocks. One of my grandsons picked up a rock for me when I was visiting them in England. That was a neat experience here. I'm arriving in Santiago and then in front of the cathedral. And again, I have rarely spoken with anyone about this that didn't cry. Patty had mentioned that had run 25 marathons. She said someone told her when she was running her first marathon that when she finished, she would cry. And she said, "One." And that when she finished her first marathon, she just burst out crying. And I thought maybe that's a woman thing, but it's not. When you walk by, there's just something about it. It was pretty amazing just walking into that. Anyway, about run out of time. Appreciate your attention. Questions?
My oldest son, Les, went on that same one you did.
Really?
And to hear you sounds like him telling us. Anywhere he can get 2 or more people together, he tells the story.
Mm-hmm.
And so every Christmas, when he gets here, I'll hear it again. Because it lives with me. It's a constant living thing. And that was about 8 years ago.
Wow.
But he plans to go again. And he wants me to go with him. But I'm 94, and if I make it that long, I may take him up on it. But it sounds like your tale. He goes to the same, and I enjoyed it, and I look forward to hearing it again. I enjoyed yours too.
Yes.
Yes.
Did you see did it say how many people annually make this walk?
This year was the record breaker, over 400,000.
Wow.
The day I finished, 2,500 other people.
Wow. Did it ever feel congested?
This is the certificate that you get after walking 500 miles. There's a similar certificate that you can get while walking the last 100 kilometers, which is about 62 miles. Yeah. And they were unloading busloads of people there. And yes, it was crowded. Yeah.
Rick, do you sign in somewhere when you start so that somebody knows where you are? If your family or anybody tried to find you, they know.
Well, you do sign in, and, it's for a different reason. You have to get your passport. And every every day, you get it stamped with where you stay. And then the last 100 kilometers, you have to get it stamped twice if you want to get this. With cell phones, you know, it's just instantaneous now, but no, they don't keep up with you. No. Last question? Yes.
Where'd you go to the restaurant?
Well.
The reason why that rock sometimes.
You always kept a little something in the backpack. And when you were walking on the Camino and you saw a little break and you found it, you could see that little trail in the woods. If you went down that way, you'd see a lot of toilet paper down there. So there are a lot of places, restaurants always have restrooms, but yeah, you did a lot of outside stuff.
My son said that was one of the necessities. Take at least a roll of toilet paper. He always carried some in his backpack.
Yep.
So people would be barred.
And if you need it, you really have the other people. Yeah.
Thank you, Greg, for sharing that experience with us. Quite the accomplishment. All right, we will be celebrating Christmas next Monday, so there won't be any meeting, and then New Year's Day the following Monday. So our next meeting won't be until January the 8th. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you all. Thanks to those that helped facilitate the meeting today, the greeters, Camp Basco. And then I want to send out a quick reminder, those of you on the board, we will have a board meeting immediately following this meeting. With that, please stand for the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, and do.
Is it true? Is it fair and all concerned? Will it with goodwill and friendships? Will it be beneficial?
Merry Christmas and shine the light of Rotary.